Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry that I have not been live. It was a little bit of a spring break, and then I had some technical issues a couple weeks ago, but happy to be with you today. Obviously, big thing going on is FAFSA has kind of made things very, I'll say, stressful on parents. A lot of my time right now is just talking to parents saying, unfortunately, you really just have to wait until you get those offers from schools. And unfortunately, those schools can't make offers until they receive your FAFSA. So one of the biggest things I can say is make sure that you're on the FAFSA website to make sure that things have been processed. There's no more errors that are needed. All the signatures are done and everything has been processed. And I would contact the school to make sure that they have received it. That's basically all you're asking. You're not asking for an award. You just want to confirm that they have actually received that FAFSA. And then hopefully you will get your awards to know what each college is actually going to cost you out of pocket. There are a number of schools that have extended their deadline from May 1st to a little bit later. Some are May 15th, some are even June 1st, but definitely be checking to see if the colleges you've been accepted to has extended that commitment deadline. On top of that, there are schools that are accepting a case-by-case basis extension. So there is the possibility, if you reach out to the school, that they kind of tell them your case, like, I can't make a decision based on not receiving all my awards. Can I potentially push this back a couple weeks until I see the full financial picture before I make my commitment, and potentially a lifelong decision when it comes to finances as well? Because that's really the other piece I want to get into today, is understanding what a financial fit truly is. So we have always, and if you watched other episodes or any of my other social media posts, we always talk about a best fit school being one that is a social fit, an academic fit, and a financial fit. You have to find a school that you enjoy being at. You have to go to a school that has the right, course rigor and the right class size, somewhere that you're going to thrive educationally and pursue that. They have the right major, the right programs for you. And beyond that, it has to be affordable. It has to be a financial fit. And so quite often when I talk with parents, when we first start building a plan on what we want to do, most parents wouldn't meet with me unless they want to help their kids. And what I describe to everybody is help can be defined in very different ways. You might be a family that says, I want my kid to go to whatever school they want, and whatever it costs, I will pay. Price is no object. Okay, that's help, obviously. You might be a parent that says, well, I think that this is the student's decision. It should be on them. And I'll co-sign on loans. I'll pay the interest while my kid is in school. But after that, it's 100% on the student. Again, that's your definition of help. However you define help, number one, it has to be defined by a dollar amount. It can't just be, well, we hope we can help out, or we want to help as much as we can. I can tell you it is not an easy conversation to have, but if you are planning to send your kids to college, you need to know the dollar amount that you can afford as a parent to pay for college. You have to have a strategy in where that money is going to come from. If you're going to borrow, what's the right way to borrow? If you have money set aside, when will that run out? How do you backfill? You need to have that plan well in advance, because when a school eventually comes with their offer, you need to know if it's within the budget, or if you're going to have to make financial sacrifices, or if your student is going to have to make financial sacrifices because they're going to have a significant amount of debt when they graduate. So I know that as a parent, you want to, we want to do as much as we can. Great. You have to define what that is. And it's different for everyone. You also have to understand that not everyone, again, there's no right or wrong answer to that definition of help and how you define it as a parent for your children. But the other piece that I always like to highlight is it's okay to say you value an education at a certain dollar amount, and you'll allow your students to borrow X amount of dollars more so that they don't graduate with too much debt, something that's manageable. So they're not living in your basement for 10 years after graduating, and they can't start their own family, and they can't get married, buy their own house, things like that. And you have to have that discussion with the students. You have to have that discussion that choosing the right college is a financial decision as well. Because if you kind of add the numbers up and there's not enough money that can be borrowed or saved or kind of allotted for, then that school is not affordable. I kind of make the analogy that, when your kids essentially, they turn 16 or, you want to buy them a car, you don't just end up giving them a blank check. At least most of the people that I know don't. Um, you kind of set a budget that this is what we can purchase. It's going to get you from point A to point B. Well, we have to look at college the same way. We have to figure out what schools are essentially in our budget. And a lot of that does come, with building the right school list, knowing the school's cost of attendance, how much merit or a need-based financial aid that they offer, to kind of expect what, you will be paying out of pocket. And that's where a great resource like the College Planning Network, collegeplanningnet.com, has a great college search tool that you can input your finances and it'll tell you what the expected cost is at every school across the country. Very valuable piece of information. Um, but you also have to plan appropriately and know what is the dollar amount that you can sustain for 4 years of education, right? And hopefully it's only 4 years. That's where the academic and social fit come into play. So we're not changing majors, transferring schools, or dropping out, and we end up taking longer than 4 years to graduate. So what I wanted to highlight today is basically something that I created, and kind of the only way that I've ever been able to connect with a 17 or 18-year-old when it comes to loans and what actually it will lead to on the back end. And then also something I do for my clients as far as a kind of like a college comparative, comparing the cost of colleges from one to another, because you often find that kids want to go to a certain school. They have a dream school, but they don't actually know what the value of that education is compared to another. And honestly, I ask those kids to justify, that number. If one school is 150 to $200,000 more than other schools that you have the option of attending, you have to justify why that school is truly worth 150 or $200,000 more. And because you like it is not a justifiable answer. Now, again, I know that you have to go to a school that's a social and academic fit, but you also cannot sacrifice your future by choosing a school because you like it. That's not life. That's not real world. That's how bad decisions are made. And so the first thing I want to share with you is it's a very simple kind of debt calculation. And let me see if I can share my screen here. Oh, come on. Hopefully this shares. There we go. So essentially what this is a pretty basic tool that I've created that I help parents, whether we're talking about setting up that initial number on what the goal is that we have to establish and try and, basically say this is what mom and dad are going to be responsible for. But also once we get those full awards, what the potential debt situation is. And so essentially what I do is, let's just say a school costs $50,000 a year let's say it costs $80,000, but we receive a $30,000 grant and scholarship money that's gift aid that never has to be paid back. So 50,000 minus that 30,000 is our cost after any type of gift aid is 50 grand. Now, if mom and dad want to have a number that they've established and they say, all right, it's $30,000 that we are willing to pay per year for a college education. Well, the one thing that we would look at is to say, well, the student's going to graduate with those numbers with about just under $100,000 of debt. Okay. And then we have to look at saying, all right, well, when it comes to college, if you do take that loan, that those $20,000 per year in government loans and private loans, what are the payments going to be like in a 10-year time period, running the government loans at the standard government loan rate and I ran private loans in this scenario at a 9% interest rate. So over the course of 10 years, this box here would be showing that the students, their payback in 10 years, they would have paid $80,000 of principal that they borrowed and $63,000 of interest. Then I take that total number and add it to how college was essentially paid for. There was $120,000 brought from the parents, which is that green box, and there's $143,000 that was paid back from loans, principal and interest that was borrowed. That total amount is basically what you have paid for that education. It's over $260,000 for that 4-year education. But the only way I've ever been able to connect with a 17 or 18-year-old on this fact is to compare it from an actual job and starting salary. So with this, I basically say, let's just hypothetically say that you make $50,000 a year as your job starting out of college. Well, with that 50,000, and this is very basic, this is no contributions to a 401k. I don't even include benefits because this could be worse. This is just a straight, hey, what you're going to have to pay in taxes. Okay. So if you make 50 grand a year as your starting salary, well, your monthly income, well, that's going to be 740 of that monthly income is going to go to Uncle Sam. And then your monthly loan payment with these loans would be $1,193. And that would leave you with $2,234 of discretionary income. Well, if you only have $2,234 of discretionary income, that is the equivalent of a job that would have a starting salary of $31,000 if you had no student loan debt. So by choosing a school like this and basically having the parents bring a certain dollar amount, you're essentially saying, well, I'm going to be sacrificing some of my actual starting salary because of this choice that I made. Now, in this scenario, there are only two ways to make this situation better. Number one is if I increase what the parents bring per year, then obviously that'll help the situation, right? That's the other piece of this. So I kind of would say, like a rule of thumb, it's something that's, that's manageable, right? Is if you're within a $10,000 difference between what the family, what mom and dad would be bringing to the table to pay for college, and what the cost of the school is after any gift aid is awarded. So if you look at this scenario, we're basically saying school costs $50,000 and mom and dad are able to bring 40. That means that the student is essentially covering that $10,000 a year gap. They would graduate with about $47,000 in student loan debt. Their monthly payment would be $551. And that would be the equivalent of a $41,000 starting salary when you look at $2,876 of discretionary income. Okay. Obviously, the other piece is to say, well, what if my starting salary is more than 50,000, right? If my starting salary is 60,000, then, I guess I don't have that input in there. But obviously, if the starting salary were to increase, then straight away, obviously, that these numbers would shift. But you should be looking at also what is the average starting salary with the major that you are pursuing, because again, it might be $10,000 if your starting salary is that 50, but let's just say, you're starting at 34,000. Well, now all of a sudden that number is going to start to drop, right? As far as the actual discretionary income piece. And kind of my back of the envelope, almost a rule of thumb, is that you really do want to have, you want to kind of ensure that when you graduate, you have less total debt from student loans than your starting annual salary. That's kind of what you want to ensure. That kind of will get you off that you should be able to manage your loans month to month for that 10-year period. If you start going north of that loan value, right? If we basically say, okay, mom and dad, I can only bring that $35,000 a month or a year, right? You start with 50 grand, your debt's 73,000. You're creeping in on saying, this is going to start really affecting me. And if you drop down significantly, right, you're going to end up saying, well, I could essentially almost make more money potentially working a minimum wage job with no student loan debt. So it's not that I'm here to say that college isn't worth it, but I'm here to say that you have to find schools that are going to be within the realm of affordability and be that true financial fit. And the other piece that I really try to hit home with a lot of this is um, kind of comparing different awards and costs. So this was a conversation that I had with a family and basically kind of went through um, what their different acceptances and their awards were at each school, and then compared what the total cost based on what mom and dad could bring, that we have already established that this is what they could afford to do without impacting their retirement, without having to essentially push their retirement back 5 years or not being able to retire. And also at the same time, saying, okay, well, if this is the number you bring and the student borrows the rest, this is after loans are paid back. This is what the total cost of that education would be. So let me pull up this report. And you know what? Let me try this real quick. Nope, that's not what I want to do. All right, bear with me for 1 second. Sorry. I will get this though. All right. Let me go to. All right. So I'll walk you through how I got all this. There we go. All right. And I might move myself on here, or at least hide myself for the And this goes into building the right college list to find schools that are a fit. Because I will have, and not this student in general, but I have had conversations in the past where, they want to go to the school like a JMU situation here. And we're looking at a school like Westchester that is much more affordable and much more of a financial fit. And the student says, I don't want to go there. Well, then why would you even apply? Right? If you're basically telling me that Westchester would be a school that you would graduate 100% debt free, or even if that education was free in general, right? You're basically looking at it and saying, well, if it's a number that mom and dad would be able to cover where I can graduate with zero debt and I'm not going to go there, why did you even apply to that school? It doesn't make sense. You have to build a list of schools that are going to be somewhere that you would want to attend. So when it comes down to receiving these awards and you see dollars versus dollars and one education versus another, it has a whole lot more impact on saying, well, I'm not going to school A because I don't want to ruin my life. And obviously, I applied to these schools because they were a good fit for me socially and academically. And now we see what schools are actually a financial fit. So if you're not going to, if you're essentially not going to go to a school, even if it's the most affordable option, I really question on how you're building your school list and why that you would have even applied to that school in the first place. If it's the only school you got into and you're doing it as a safety feature, is that somewhere that you're really going to be happy with? Are you going to finish your career there? Are you going to graduate on time? Or is it going to be a school that you just applied to because, and when you're there, you're going to hate it and you're going to end up leaving, or you're going to want to transfer the entire time you're there? Not the reason to go to college. If that's really where you're at, maybe college isn't the best fit for you, right? So you really have to build this school the right way, or your school list the right way, so that when you do get these final offers and you're in the position that a lot of seniors are right now, it's not that hard of a decision when the schools bring the money. So, um, the solution, it doesn't always come perfect. So, a couple things that I want to show here. I'm going to move my. Oh, I was trying to move myself out here, but I guess I can't do it. Let me shift this. All right. Maybe I can't do it. Try it again. I don't like that view. So obviously, these are things that have to be discussed long before you make a decision where you go. You don't just pick a school without knowing the financial implications. And it all starts early in the process, right? The earlier parents can start planning on what is that number that they can bring to the table, the more secure a plan can be, right? The more that you can potentially save. Scary statistic that I have came up to me that I started to love to use is when your kids are in kindergarten, you might think you got plenty of time to save for college. I get it sounds early, but the reality is a third of the time that you had between from when the child was born to when they go off to college at kindergarten, a third of the time is already gone. And you might think, whoa, how do I guess I'm already behind. And the reality is you are, but you need to have a plan moving forward, right? And you have to understand your budget, your cash flow. You have to understand what your goals are from a retirement standpoint. How much skin in the game do you want the kids to have? How much money do you want to bring? You want to help, I get it, but you have to define help as down to a dollar amount. That's how you have to accomplish this. And then once you get to that point where seniors are at now, you know what the number is that mom and dad can bring to the table. And if these schools are a financial fit or not when that award finally comes in. So that's what I wanted to really teach you guys today about what really a financial fit is. And hopefully this is something that you can take away. Obviously, if you have a senior right now, these are things that, if you need help and you need to have a discussion and you want to see one of these reports, please reach out to me. But if you're a parent right now that is kind of looking at this saying, oh, we want to make sure we avoid this. We want to make sure we do things the right way. There is help out there. There are people like me. There's college planning experts. There's, elite collegiate planning and all of our educational consultants. We have multiple workshops done right now in the Philadelphia area, but we're going to start traveling across the country to do those. We also do virtual presentations, and very soon I will have an on-demand presentation that you can watch. It'll be about a half hour to me really help guide you. And then if you want to take advantage of a free consultation, you're more than welcome to do that. But if you want to free consultation today with one of our education consultants, reach out to me directly. We can actually schedule that consultation at elitecollegiateplanning.com. Yeah, hopefully this hit home. And I love teaching these aspects of the financial aid system to everyone who's willing to listen. Because knowledge is power and it's going to pay dividends in the long run. But these are some of the things that I really always like to bring up, especially this time of year to those seniors. And making a decision for college is one that could impact your life forever, if you make the wrong decision. So definitely ask for help and ask for guidance and making sure you don't make some mistakes along the way. So that will wrap up another session of College Planning Fridays. Remember that finding the right college should not mean sacrificing your future financial freedom. And with the right knowledge and planning, you can pave the way to both academic success and financial security. Be sure to follow me on my social media pages and tune in 2 weeks from now for more critical college knowledge. And until next time, keep dreaming and plan